So as you guys may know, I do kind of a lot of thrifting. That is kind of the entire premise for my personality on the internet. And when you're thrifting things, not everything fits perfectly on the first try because you bought it for like $5 and it's technically a hand-me-down from like some 40-year-old lady named Sharon. So today we're gonna be doing a little thrift flippin' because my altar pile is getting a little bit out of hand. I've been procrastinating it for a couple months now, like I do with everything in my life. Speaking of, I have like 2 essays due this weekend and I am recording this video instead. Great life choices, Ashley. First up, we have these jeans, which are straight out of the 2000s. They are by Polo Ralph Lauren, which after about a year now I can finally pronounce right on the first try. These are currently, God forbid, a low-rise jean. I was actually kind of surprised. I don't hate these when I tried them on. They're very like Amanda Steele, edgy 2000s bitch, but that's not really me, and on an everyday basis, I need some coverage on my food baby, so we are gonna alter these to make them high-waisted. The battle plan here is to first just put in some darts so that they sit a little bit higher around my waist. I don't have a sewing machine, so I'm gonna do this by hand, but if you have a sewing machine, obviously use that because it's so much easier. I might also end up cutting the hem so they're a little bit shorter. I'm gonna try them on after I put the darts in to see where they hit. I feel like it might be at a little bit of an awkward length, but we shall see. Alright, so I started by trying on the jeans and pinching them at the back to figure out how much I wanted to tighten the waist, which ended up being around 2 inches. I wanted to put the darts as close to being centered over the ass cheeks as possible so they just fit in the most flattering way, but this huge logo tag thing was in the way, so I ripped it off part of the way. I also don't own a seam ripper because I'm poor, so I just used some small scissors, which worked just as well. Next, I measured out my darts, which were around a ½ inch each, and then used some blue thread, which honestly doesn't really match the color of my jeans at all, but let's ignore that fact, nobody will see it, and I sewed in little triangles that taper down. I started by sewing a shorter triangle, but the butt ended up coming out a little bulbous and like wrinkly, so I went back and took down some of that excess fabric with a longer dart that goes all the way down to the pocket. Once I was happy with the darts, I took some heavy-duty thread that matched the stitching on the jeans and reattached the logo, which also helped cover up the dart and disguise my honestly subpar sewing skills. I tried them on and the waist looked good, but the hem hit me at a little bit of a weird length and I wasn't a fan of this kind of cheesy, distressed look, so I marked where I wanted the jeans to end with a safety pin and cut a straight line across at that point. To make sure the legs were even, I just took that scrap that I'd cut off the first leg, lined it up with the second leg like a template, and cut across. I roughed up the edge just a little bit so it wouldn't look like I just cut across it with scissors, but it'll start to look more natural and distressed as I continue to wear them. And this is how they turned out. They're definitely a little bit out there, a little bit more of a statement than I usually go, but I'm really happy with how they turned out. They're a bit more light and springy, and I think they're gonna pair really well with all of my tighter crop tops, so it balances out, gives a little more volume at the bottom. Next up, we have this dress, which I think is so gorgeous. I'm gonna say it reminds me so much of something from Reformation. It is properly vintage and it's just a picnic bitch dream. I really love the silhouette and the length of this dress, so I'm not gonna be changing too much, but the one big thing I wanted to change about it is that the waist is a little bit loose. So instead of just putting normal darts at the side, I thought a really interesting thing to do with this would be actually take the buttons and kind of do this asymmetrical button front thing. I know it makes no sense when I'm explaining it, but hopefully I'll be able to show you guys in the try-on clip what I'm thinking of. And I think this is gonna be such a good way to make it not only fit me a lot better, but also give it a really unique kind of like modern twist on vintage silhouette. I started by trying on the dress and folding it over however much I wanted so it would fit my waist well, and I marked that spot with a safety pin. My original plan was to just sew these 2 points together, but I realized that since the dress doesn't have a zipper, I wouldn't be able to get it on. So instead, I got these little snap closures from Joann's, and I'm sewing on one where the safety pin was, and one as close as I can to the button area. That way I can slip the dress on and then snap those 2 thingies together in order to cinch the waist. Now this DIY didn't turn out perfectly. As you can see, it is still like a little bit wrinkly and awkward around where the seam is, but I think overall the fit is still a lot better than the original one, and I do really like the diagonal design. I am planning on buying a sewing machine sometime this summer after I move into my new apartment, so I might eventually come back and sew everything into place permanently and put in a little side zipper or something, so everything is a little bit more professional and less kind of janky. Next up, we have this t-shirt, which is not technically thrifted, but we're gonna ignore that for the title of this video. I actually got this a couple years ago at Zara. I really love the fabric. It's super soft, and I think it fits pretty well at the shoulders, but it has this mock neckline, which I think was trendy back then, but it's a little bit outdated / weird now. It's a little bit like Steve Jobs on his day off. So my plan is to first cut off this mock neck and create a raw hem crew neck instead. And then to pizzazz it up a little bit because it's just a super plain gray, I also I also bought these embroidery threads and an embroidery hoop from Joann's. I think total this cost me like $3 because I used that 40% off coupon. I think I'm gonna embroider just a couple sprigs of lavender because I'm not a particularly skilled embroiderer, so I feel like that's easy enough, but it's also kind of like cute and aesthetic. I don't know. Embroidering this t-shirt was pretty straightforward. I started out by Googling a photo of lavender embroidery to copy because I'm unoriginal like that, and sketched out a vague idea of where I wanted the stems to go. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but I promise it'll kind of get better. I split the embroidery thread and used 3 strands at a time to sew the stems in green, and then I added little flower petals. I also took some darker purple and added little dots at the tips of the flowers. I'm not really sure what these dots are supposed to be, like botanically, but I think they add a little bit more dimension. To finish off the design, I cut 2 short pieces of embroidery thread, tied a knot at one end, poked them through the fabric, and then tied them together in a bow, which added a nice little 3D effect to the whole design. And here is the finished shirt. My embroidery definitely wasn't perfect, but I think it came out pretty cute. I haven't embroidered anything in like 3 years, but it was really therapeutic, and it only took me like 20 minutes. The design was super simple, but if I were to do this design again, I'd probably want to do it on a white t-shirt just so the design stands out a little bit more. I feel like the detail does get a little bit lost in the heathered texture of this t-shirt. Next up, we have this dress, which is the most gorgeous freaking thing I've ever thrifted. I am slightly mad because I have nowhere fancy enough to actually wear this. Please like propose to me so I can wear this to my own wedding. Thank you. Overall, the fit is pretty good on this. Anything silky, I feel like just does things to your curves. It hugs those curves like nobody's business. But the main thing about this is that the straps are really, really long. If I let this just hang down, my boobs will probably be out and about. So this is gonna be a really simple fix. My plan is that I'm just gonna carefully seam rip the straps off the back, trim them down a little bit, and then reattach them. And I might also try to attach them a little bit farther away so it gives me a little bit of a wider neckline and kind of opens up the décolletage a little bit. After I did the first one, I just folded the dress over to make sure everything was even and repeated that process on the other side. And that is it. This thrift flip was outrageously simple, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Shortening the straps allowed me to wear a strapless bra without it showing, and it also raised the waistline to more of a baby doll silhouette, which I think is a lot more flattering and gives me some good vintage vibes. I did actually end up getting to wear this dress in my friend's cinematography project that I was acting in shortly before returning it to the back of my closet, where it will wait until I get married in like never. Okay, and that is all I have for you guys today. I am recording this before I actually did the thrift flips, so I'm hoping that they turned out well. If any of them were a complete fail, I apologize in advance. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!